Hello and welcome to our 6th interview. So this is our awareness interviews through removing our invisibility cloaks, where we get to know a little bit about the illnesses and disabilities that people live with and how that impacts them, and hopefully educate other people to stop discriminating us, because unfortunately the ones that we are going to be talking about are hidden, and that is why we get a lot of people judge us, because they think that we are normal on the outside, but we are a little bit unique and we live with these on a daily basis. So in front of me
I'm Rhian. As you can see at the moment, I'm currently Miss Voluptuous Ireland, the reigning queens at the moment. And besides that, I'm also a special education teacher, and I love everything. I love anything sparkly and theatre and dance and everything.
Perfect. So we'll touch upon your pageantry then, just because you have your crown on your head. So we've got to discuss that. So how long have you been taking part in pageants for?
Weirdly, I actually had, thanks to Facebook with the memories sort of coming up, it has been 4 years since my first pageant, because it popped up earlier that my first one was Miss Pin-Up Ireland, and it's where I came runner-up, and that popped up earlier. So that was my first one 4 years ago. I've been very lucky now to have had 3 titles. Wow. I had Miss Dream Beauty of the Golden Globe Curve, and I had Miss Curves Ireland, and now I am Miss Voluptuous Ireland, and I'm also Miss Republic of Ireland Voluptuous, because I am competing in Nashville in America in May for the Republic of Ireland. Yes, I know, that's going to be amazing. First time I've done international, even though this is international because I didn't compete in Ireland, this was across the seas, but the first time I am competing in America and doing like a massive scale like that, it's going to be huge.
Are you going to make a holiday out of it as well?
Well, weirdly, it's actually my birthday during the pageant.
So you're going to have the best birthday ever then.
Definitely. I've already told them, and it actually is one of our days off. So it's like, right, on our days off, we're having like we can have like a princess birthday day.
Is there anything around Nashville that you can do?
I think there is lots. Weirdly, it's actually reasonably close to where my brother-in-law lives as well. So he's threatened to come down and say hi.
Happy birthday! Yeah, he's got to. If you're there, he's got to come and say happy birthday to you.
Like, I think he said it's just under a 2-hour drive, which is huge for here, but in America that's like round the corner. Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, I'll come down. So I was like,
2 hours, that's
fine. But I know some of the barbecues and everything. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Really looking forward to it.
It'll be the best time ever.
Yes. Cannot
so
wait.
Hopefully you bring back an international crown as well.
Fingers crossed. I know a lot of the girls who are doing it, and they're all absolutely beautiful, both inside and out. So, do you know what? Even going up there to compete is phenomenal. Just the competition's incredibly high. So I'm not expecting anything, but you know, I will be thrilled. Don't get me wrong. If I come back,
anything is an achievement. So even going there is a big achievement.
I actually never go into a pageant thinking I'm going to win. I've never thought I'm going to win any of them. I go in, my weird, and every time I say this, people think I'm weird, but my statement that I live by is aim high, expect low. And I know that sounds pessimistic, but it's not in a weird way. It's actually always aim for the stars, because if you don't aim for them, you're never going to achieve them. But if you always expect to get there, then I always find those are the people that get particularly disappointed then and can't deal with failure. So I never expect them when I get there. So any sort of victory is always amazing to me, because I'm all like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Yay. It does mean I've had some really bad crowning moment pictures.
There's always that crowning moment pictures.
Oh my God. I always made a joke that if I ever won, I was going to do like the Halle Berry, oh my God, thank you. And that is genuinely my first picture, is me going like in proper like drama pin-up style. This one, I just looked confused when I won. I think Miss Voluptuous was going.
What, me?
I was like, what? But yeah, I'm trying to get used to me constantly stop doing the surprised face, the genuine like, really. did not think that. But then I think that's part of the reason I do quite well, is because I'm genuinely not arrogant. I never come across as thinking that I'm going to win the whole thing. I'm there to have an amazing experience and to get the most out of it and to meet amazing people and just do as good as I can.
Yeah, it's all about the journey. It is not, yeah, okay, it's a bonus to get that crown and to get that title, but it's about the journey that pageantry gives you that is important.
Exactly. Completely agree.
So you are a queen. However, you live with invisible illnesses. So let's talk about those. So what type of conditions do you have?
Altogether. I am a severe asthmatic. I have ME. I am suspected with fibromyalgia. Several doctors have said I have it, but we need the rheumatologist to confirm. I have, I'm dyslexic. Don't know if I can spell that. Dyslexic, we'll add that in.
It's still a disability?
It is. And my main one I'm struggling with at the moment, and the reason I'm currently in bed, is I have IIH, which is idiopathic intracranial hypertension.
Okay, so I am going to focus on IIH first, because a lot of people don't know what that is. It's not a common condition. So let's talk about that. So you're obviously in bed, so it impacts you physically. So what type of symptoms do you get with it?
Which I'm actually going to take my crown off if that's okay. My head is killing me. Idiopathic intracranial hypertension. I have to constantly think that, because
it don't make it easy.
No, and when I first got diagnosed, they thought I had that probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And we touched on it back then because I was being sick constantly. And I was just very tired. My head was banging. And actually, I was being seen because of the constant vomiting. And there was only one doctor just went, what came first? He said, you keep mentioning a headache. And I was like, of course I have a headache. I'm dehydrated. I'm vomiting all the time. And they were like, yeah, but what came first, the headache or the vomiting? And I was like, I don't know. it just didn't occur to me. I thought it was obviously the vomiting causing all the problems.
Yeah.
So I think you have benign intracranial hypertension, which was the old name for it. So I used to call it that when I got diagnosed. It also was known as psychotumor cerebri, I think. It's had many names. It's only actually 1 in 100,000 people who are diagnosed with this. So it is considered a rare, one of the rare sort of invisible illnesses. It's what it basically is too much pressure and fluid in the brain, is in layman's terms. It's too much CFS in the brains and causes all sorts of symptoms and side effects. With me, I get a lot of vomiting. When that happened back then, I was lucky. I went through 3 months of really being bad. No one could figure out what was wrong. But then I actually moved to Ireland, so things got forgotten about and I got a bit better. And then last January, not this one, sorry, the one before, I got very, very sick and ended up in hospital. And I had extreme vertigo. I had extreme sickness again. I had nausea, very bad heads. I was seeing blurred and things like that. And that is when they diagnosed IIH. The only way to really diagnose, they find, is through lumbar punctures, which I've now had 6, 2 unsuccessful, which is not the nicest of things. Lumbar punctures, they're not that fun. But it basically, what they do is they put the needle in the spine and it depends on your opening pressure. And the problem with this illness is that because it is rare, I find that not even doctors are that aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on a support group for it, and like, someone actually quoted the question, what does your neurologist say is abnormal? Sort of, what does your neurologist say is high? And everyone was giving different answers. Because mine says only if it's over 20, but someone else says if normal is 9. So, and my opening one, we know was above 40, but we don't know how far above. because their gauge hit 40 and mine went over.
Wow.
So we know it was over that, but we don't know where. I ended up back in hospital literally about 3 weeks later without being able to speak. I sounded like I had a stroke. I was unable to verbalize properly, and it was weird because I could say it, but then it wasn't coming out. And even then, the doctors at the time kept on saying it wasn't part of my condition. But I've now, since that, spoke to loads of people who have the same side effect. So when my pressure is very high, and it's happened again this time, if I'm lying down this time, I found, I struggle to speak and I get a lot of brain fog. So I apologize if I'm umming and I get a bit confused sometimes at the moment. Brain fog is fab.
It
So,
sure is.
oh, so it just caused a lot of confusion, a lot of forgetting what you're saying. I can't believe I just forgot what I was trying to say. Well, I was trying to say I forgot what I say. But,
That's just brain fog for you, which
yeah, that really is.
it's awareness of what brain fog is.
But it does cause a lot of that. I had a lot of weakness in my joints, and my gross motor skills weren't great either. A lot of people with my condition the most severe risk is that you can go blind. Because if there's too much pressure behind the eye, then it can actually swell the optic nerve and cause permanent damage. So far, I'm quite lucky with regards to my eyes. It's not caused too much problems, but I'm having a very nasty flare up at the moment, and I am finding more and more issues with my eyes, which I've never had before, which is very unfortunate. Even in regards to, again, but I mentioned this to the neuro, and she was like, "Oh, is that part of it?" And she's great. My neurologist is fantastic, but I think it's because there aren't a huge amount of us. It's still quite new, and in fact, if you actually look in sort of journals, it was only really discovered in 2003, and for medical things, that's not that long ago.
No, it's not.
No, like, don't get me wrong, it probably went much before that, but that's actually when they started realizing what it was.
Yeah, so they're still learning about it, and as you said, everyone suffers differently, so there's no set symptoms, I guess.
I think for the main obvious ones is visual disturbances, sickness, headaches, nausea. Those are the sort of the written ones, but it comes with a whole bunch of other fun ones that aren't on Google.
You go, oh, yes, I have that too, or oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I've not been very lucky this summer, unfortunately. I'm feeling a bit better now. My meds have been tripled. But I've been, unfortunately, in bed for most of the last couple of months. But I can't lie down. So that's why I'm actually sitting up. This is how I sleep at the moment, because when you lie down, it increases any sort of pressure in your brain. So I can no longer lie flat at all because I get too many visual disturbances. And I actually woke up the other day with black eyes, where my eyes were very swollen to the point where that one actually was black. I've had to cover it with makeup because the pressure obviously was too heavy behind them.
I bet it's quite scary, isn't it? Like, to go through that, especially worrying about sight. So sight is the one thing that we rely on the most. So to lose sight, honestly, I respect anyone that deals with losing their sight amazingly, because it is something that we rely on. Like hearing, yes, it's an important sense, but eyesight, just to see the beauty of the world and stuff like that.
It is, and actually hearing is something that's probably impacted me more than the sight, which is weird, because I constantly have tinnitus in that ear and I have pulsing tinnitus in that ear, because I have to be different. Can't have them in the same in both ears. Why? That would be too weird. But yeah, I've always got ringing in that ear and I've got swooshing in that ear, which is lovely. But I said I'm very lucky with the sight. When I talk to other people, you know, which is why they do surgery a lot of the time, and they do intervention when there is sight issues. I am possibly going to be having surgery without any major sight issues because I'm having too many side effects.
Yeah.
But so I'm meeting my surgeons now at the end of the month. So it looks like I'm going to be having a shunt, which is a tube from the brain down, I think, to the stomach. So it will be leaking. It'll be
getting the pressure
leaking.
out.
Yeah, because the stomach can deal with a few extra millimeters of fluid that just my brain can't.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next step, and that's what a lot of people end up having to do, unfortunately.
That's very interesting that they can do that type of thing, though, to help you.
It's a scary idea because I'm wondering how much of my hair needs to be shaved off, and that's just like, oh, not the hair. But it is good. It's actually 2 different types. There's one VP and one LP, and if I'm right, the LP goes from the spine and the VP goes from the brain. Both same sort of thing. But yeah, I'll find out a bit more about that at the end of the month.
Well, fingers crossed it's good news for you. I think when we deal with things like this, I think just getting a treatment is something that we find as a relief. No matter how hard that treatment is, it's a relief to actually end the suffering with that we have.
Yeah, because it'd be nice, because I'm hoping even stupid things like the medication I'm on, you can't be on if you're pregnant. Even like little stupid things like that, but you don't think of. And I'm on 3,000 milligrams a day.
Wow.
Which is the max you got of Diamox. Where's it gone? Was next to me. But I'm on 3,000 of that one. I'm now increased to 70 on another one, 25 of another one. But those are just 2 of my tablets compared to, out of my those. But my main diuretic brain tablet, I'm on 3,000, which I can't be on if I want a child. So even little stupid things like that you have to think about. So hopefully the surgery will put me into remission and I won't need to be on the medication.
And give you a little bit of normality back, because it's nice to have some normality.
It would be absolutely great. Like, it only occurred to me earlier that I only have a week left of summer holidays. And I was like, where's it gone? What have I been doing? And my husband's like, sleeping. You've been ill. And I was like, only because I'm feeling a bit better today. So I was like, but I should be doing stuff. And he's like, no, Rhian, we've all been worried about you. You've been in bed. I was like,
and it's just to understand not to put too much pressure on yourself. So obviously you're feeling better today, but if you do normal tasks, then you will probably knock yourself out, I'm guessing.
That's what I found, because I actually had this about a week ago where I was like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit better. Oh, I'm getting excited now, I can do this. And I think I walked to the pharmacy to get my tablets, which is probably a 1.5 minute walk out of my door because I live right in town. And I was like panting and holding onto the wall, and it was just like, people are going to think I'm so unfit, just because I was like, oh, it was like, they're like, okay, like my head's going to explode, and they're like, okay. Because the only way I can describe the headaches is like, it's like you've got a voice outside you.
Sorry. I've got the window open because it's so hot, and then that was a really loud voice.
It's because pressure headaches is different from, like, because I get migraine stuff as well, but pressure headaches are slightly weirder. It's sort of like there's a voice around your head, but also like there's a balloon inside your head, and they're both sort of competing. So it's sort of it just feels like everything's going to pop. So obviously, anytime you do movement, that increases. Anytime I eat certain food, that increases. If I get too excited or too happy, that increases. If I have a shower, that increases. Like, I have to, which is why I pretty much just had to sort of sit around and do nothing, because I have to just not get that happy or that excited or do much, because if it increases at the moment when it's already up there, it's too much for me if it goes a bit higher.
Well, I like that you're still smiling, because that's important.
Definitely.
And it's obviously important to accept that your health is more important than doing those simple little tasks.
Yeah, and you know, I said like actually yesterday I got really excited because I managed to clean my lizard's cage, and then I said I came round to my husband. I was like, I just did that, and he's like, well done. I was like, no, I know this sounds stupid, but last week I couldn't do that, and he's like, no, you're right. He said, no, I'm saying well done. Last week you couldn't have done that. So I was like, so I'm getting better. I was like,
It's nice that you've got support as well.
I'm very lucky. Like he's had to take the brunt of a lot of things. He's a better cook than me anyway, so he doesn't like my food. So he'd do that bit anyway, but he's had to be very good for the last month and a bit. And my friends are very good. They've had to do the driving because I wasn't comfortable driving if I'm a bit dizzy. But I'm glad it is easing off because obviously I've got to get back to work soon. And so I was a bit worried about the fact that that was coming up. So
And I work supportive.
Do you know my boss? I'm very lucky. My boss has head-related issues herself. She has severe migraines, so I think she is quite understanding with head issues. And actually, I was in work when I first sort of had the issue before I ended up in hospital because I just got to work, had a very dizzy moment, had major vertigo, and was sitting like I was sitting on the floor. Some teachers phoned me because they were like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on." They were like, "Okay," and they took me home, and then the next day I ended up in hospital for a week. So they are they've seen it from the beginning in a strange way.
Yeah.
And she's always been very good and very understanding of, you know, only push it as far as you can. They moved my class last year to a bit of a calmer class because I work with special ed, so they can be very demanding. I love my class. I love my kids. I love my job, but you know, it can be a very challenging job. I've got a busier class this year, so we'll see.
I'm sure you'll cope. You sound strong.
But yeah, no, I'm very lucky. My work is very good about it. Um, I think part of the reason I was this bad this summer as well is my ME, I think, was playing up the same time. Because this problem, I don't know if you find like when you have more than one chronic illness, if one's bad, they're all bad.
Yeah, I have ME as well, which
Yeah.
just for the video, that is also known as CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome. And yes, they do interlink. It sort of seems to be when you're flaring, all the other ones likely to flare at the same time.
It's sort of like, oh, your immune system's low. Let's give you them all. Go on, do it. Let's do it.
Just fight it all at
once. So I think that's part of the reason I've also not done anything for the last couple of months. Because I had glandular fever for the fifth time.
That's awful, that is.
I
had it in 2015.
You apparently can't get it more than once. I'm special.
And you've had it how many times?
4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it keeps coming back. We think there's an autoimmune issue, but we're trying to work out where is the issue at the moment. I do have autoimmune issues on both sides of my family, so it wouldn't be a surprise. My mother is also on this site because she has Crohn's.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah, and my gran on my father's side has colitis. So it's not a big shock if I'd have an autoimmune issue, which could link to my brain thing as well.
Yeah.
Because they said it can possibly be autoimmune related. It's just finding, when you have autoimmune issues, it's very difficult to find out which one it is, let's face it.
They also think that glandular fever can trigger your autoimmune conditions. So I think mine triggered my IBD because it was hidden, and then all of a sudden, after having glandular fever, it became apparent. So I think that it can take a few years to trigger it, but I think it just start a trigger somewhere.
Oh, I agree. I think it was my ME came from my first glandular fever because I was out of school pretty much for that whole year.
Wow.
And somehow didn't go back. I don't know how the hell it didn't, but I was in year 10, which was what, 15, had glandular fever, the kissing disease. never been kissed at the time. Did great for my rep.
I don't get why they call it the kissing disease. I don't get it.
But yeah, and I've always had joint issues anyway. So my legs went down. So my legs decided not to work, and then got glandular fever, and then but I was pretty much bedbound for most of that year. So I was in and out, sort of too tired for crutches. So when I was taken out in a wheelchair. So it was a weird year.
Yeah, I think people don't realise either how bad you can get from glandular fever.
God, yeah. Yeah.
So my brother had it first when I was young, and I can always remember how poorly he was. And then when I got it quite bad as well. And it just as you said, I was drained. I literally had no energy to do anything. I felt like I'd been dragged through a bush backwards.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. That's what triggered that's the first time they acknowledged the ME, because I just couldn't wake up for that year then. I just was like, nope, that's it, I'm sleeping, I'm done. My body just like, I'm not coping with this. I'm just
your body's like, just sleep to recover. That's all you need.
And that was the first time. And I find that when a lot of the times when I've had really bad ME flare-ups, and they keep on rechecking the glandulars up again, and you're like, seriously? It's like, why are you back? But yeah, I keep on, I'm special, and it keeps coming back to me.
It just likes you that much.
So I think that floored me, because I had that as well during the summer, and I think that's part of the reason I'm starting to feel better, is maybe that's improving. So because I had the glandular fever and the head issue flare up at the same time, it was just too much for my body to deal with both. It was like, no, not doing this, not having it. But I think because the glandular fever sort of let up a little bit, maybe the head I can deal with. I'm used to the head being a problem.
Yeah.
But it's just the two of them together was just like, no, just not fun.
We sort of get used to our conditions, don't we? So like I've got used to my IBD pain, but then when you get other things added on, that is when your body can't seem to take it. So yes, resting seems to have done what you needed to have.
Exactly. And I would say that I've got a very high pain threshold for familiar pain. Just if it's unfamiliar, I'm like, my finger hurts. But my head probably is constantly banging me. I'm used to that now. My knees I had my first knee operation, I think, when I was 12. So they are generally in pain. This shoulder's really bugging me right now. Just because it's hurting, and I don't know why.
So what caused your knee operation?
Do you know what? They never quite worked it out. I think that's why I think they're checking fibro or arthritis or what now. I was on and off crutches through most of my childhood, and with both my knees are hyperflexible, and apparently they're quite flat socketed. My kneecaps are quite flat, sorry. So there was too much inflammation behind them. So they did quite a drastic operation on both of them, which they no longer do because it's stupid, because they cut off all the tendons and ligaments to the kneecap, which means it just falls out all the time. So I'll be walking and I'll be like, oh, sorry. And they're like, what? Like, just put it back in. Sorry.
Just pulling my knee back in, as you do.
And it's grand if I catch it quick enough. The problem is if it comes out and it swells up quickly, like if it hits a nerve. If it comes out and it hits something, like a nerve, and it swells up instantly, and like before I get it back in, that's where we have problems. Because I'm like, oh no, I get stuck. But I have both knees done. Both knees are cut. They tried everything. They tried steroids. They tried artificial lubrication being injected into them. They just never. It was never fixed. And then I suppose as I got older, it wasn't that they got better. It's just that I got used to it.
Yeah.
But I was actually saying this the other day to my mum. I was like, I'm just fed up of having loads of little things wrong. I said, there must be something that links all of this, which is why me and the doctor now are looking into an autoimmune disease, because I have joint issues. I have IBS, and they've looked into my bowel as well, found information there. It wasn't Crohn's. They thought it was, but it wasn't. you know, I have my head, like I have loads of little things wrong with me.
That combine together.
But so we're trying to figure out what is causing the issue. So hopefully we'll work it out soon.
Hopefully you get answers, and I think
Yeah.
even if there's no treatment, just having answers helps
Yeah.
you understand it a bit more.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like I want to be dramatic, I want to have the label, but it's sometimes it's easier to go like my something is playing up and you just have one and it sort of is everything.
Yeah.
Because it's not like having that name is going to make me any worse. I already have these issues. But it's better than that, than me trying to explain to someone, oh, right now my knees, my bowel, my chest, my arms, my head, everything is playing up and I'm tired all the time. They're like, okay. But
I just didn't expect the whole list.
yeah, it'd just be easier to say like one name.
Yeah.
You know, it's, as you said, like with invisible illnesses, we learn to just get on with it. And I know a lot of us, including yourself, you know, it's very easy on social media to make it look like we're absolutely fine. And
Yeah.
it's occasional then where I'll put a picture up and go, and this is actually how I look today. When I've gone, yeah, all the pictures of the last month have been like recycled, or if I have a good day, I take a lot.
It's like, oh, make the most of this day.
Like, quick, I'm feeling well, do it. And just in case, because you never know, it could be a while until I can next do it. But
Yeah. Yeah, I try to be very open, but then you do. My anxiety makes me think: is that person thinking, "Oh, she's moaning again," or she's attention seeking, she's wanting sympathy? And I'm like, no, I just want people to be aware that, yeah, okay, I may look okay, I'm always smiling, but there's these things as well that you don't know, because until you ask, you're not going to know, basically.
yeah, it's okay not to be okay, and that's the hashtag that is one of the big hashtags at the moment, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it is good that I think more and more people who are models and or pageant queens or do like what we do are being a bit more open about it and going, yeah, like, yes, we do all these things, and yes, if you look at my Instagram, it looks glamorous, or it looks like I'm always out and doing social stuff, but you know, there is stuff going on behind, and that's okay too. It's okay to some days not wear makeup. Like, could not put eye makeup on today because my eyes are swollen. So I have no makeup on today. Well, my eyebrows were non-existent, so I had to do that. But which usually I would not like to be seen on an interview without my makeup. But I wasn't well enough today to do a full makeup.
And you still look beautiful, so it doesn't matter.
And like even little things like that, like washing my hair is hard at the moment because it hurts to touch my hair.
Try
So
shampoo.
my shampoo is my best friend right now. Because I've had to limit washing because there was a brilliant meme that actually I saw the other day with it, because it was like IIH, wake up, take your Diamox, feeling great, have a shower, throw up in the shower, that's it, I give up. And it was like, yeah, I was like, that's the issue, because showers are evil, because any heat or anything like that does bring it up. And if your head is sore, actually, it sounds weird, but your scalp becomes so sensitive that it actually, and I got a lot of hair, so it's actually too heavy when it becomes wet. So sometimes I haven't done pictures purely because my hair, it's like people can't see that. it's not looking good today. It's like, you know I don't wash it every day, but come on, there's a certain point you can't show it in public. But, and this probably should be washed right now. I gotta stop playing with it. But you have to also be aware of your limitations. Right now, I can sit up and I can talk and I can look normal, but if I got up and I had tried to do a shower today, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. It's
So
just accepting your limits.
yeah.
So talking about positive things then now, because you've got, as I said, you've got your sash, you've got your crown. What else have you achieved despite living with these conditions?
do you know what? I've been very lucky. With regards to the dyslexia, I wasn't diagnosed. Okay, I didn't have my official diagnosis until after college. I was constantly told that I was dyslexic. Then I'd be sent, and then they told me, and I'm not being big-headed. I wasn't like a top grades, but I can talk my way around stuff. And because I was like a decent student, they'd be like, "Oh no, she's clever. You can't have dyslexia and be able to have good grades." So I got fobbed off until I was 18, and still came out with good grades. So it shows you can. But don't get me wrong, in university, when I managed to get the extra help, it was fantastic. I am a teacher who is dyslexic as well, and I
Which is an
use that.
amazing achievement.
And I really like to use that as part of my teaching. Not so much now in the special ed school. It's nice with regards to I understand some of the children, but my kids are non-verbal and writing is a bit above. But when I was teaching mainstream, I'd always tell the kids that I was dyslexic. And I would always tell the children that it's not about not being able to do things. It's being able to work hard, and you could all be teachers as well, because some of the schools I worked at were in very poor areas and they needed good role models. And if they noticed a mistake I made on the board, they got a sticker. And some of them were deliberate. A lot of them were not. Like occasionally, you deliberately throw a word in just to see if anyone notices. But part of it was they would get a reward if they noticed my mistake. Because I was very open with the kids that I was dyslexic. I explained what that was, and I used to use that as part of my teaching. So I used to love it. It was part of the fun. I've not just got a degree, I've also got a postgrad. I'm a plus size model. I've done London Fashion Week, despite the fact that my body hates me. Traveled the world, despite the fact my body hates me.
You just push through, which is really good. Like, it's making the most of your good days as well. So yeah. We have so many bad days, and that can obviously affect our mental health, that we just need to make sure on our good days we do what we can.
Exactly. And I think that's what it is. And I don't think the doctor knows what to do with me anymore, because she keeps on thinking I'm being like mean to myself, because I was like, my body hates me. And she's like, don't say that. I was like, no, it does. It hates me. I hate it. It's okay. It's mutual. I love my body for getting me as far as it has, but it could be a bit nicer to me sometimes. I'm just saying. But you've got to make jokes, and you've got to be able to sort of see the funny side sometimes, because otherwise you just couldn't do it. Like,
yeah, you couldn't pay.
Oh, you couldn't. And like, I've been battling with these sort of issues since I was as long as I can remember. I had leg issues since I was very young, and they tried everything.
It's amazing how positive you are.
I'm very lucky. There are so many people with 1,000 times worse than me, and as I said, like with people with IIH who have much more difficult than I have, who have real bad visual issues. I don't. I have people who are much worse than me with health. I'm very lucky in comparison. Don't get me wrong, I could be luckier, but I appreciate that I'm certainly not the worst by far. And I can't really complain, because I'm sure there's many people out there be like, what are you complaining about? You should be in my shoes type thing.
Yeah.
But, it's
no comparison though. Like, we can't compare ourselves to others in our situation. Even those with the same illness as us, we all suffer differently, and people have different pain thresholds as well. So someone might be able to handle the pain more, so they're not suffering as much. It's just vital that we don't compare.
I think actually that's true, because I think that's one of the hardest things, is that you do compare, like, without meaning to. You're like, oh, I shouldn't be complaining. I've only had this a year and I don't have this issue, but they have this, that, and that issue, and yet I can't complain. And you do sort of feel guilty guilty if you're ill, if you're really ill, for the people who have to look after you, and guilty if you're not that ill because you're complaining and people are worse than you. So it's a tricky box to try to balance, and I think it's something that we all have to try to stop doing to ourselves, is try to stop the guilt.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
there is no reason to be guilty. Like, we are all on our own journeys, we're all on dealing with it our own way, and no way is wrong, no way is right. It's just our journey.
Yeah, definitely. And we just need to appreciate us for who we are.
Exactly.
Well, we'll end the interview on that. It was amazing speaking to you. It was amazing learning about IIH. And hopefully you can find what's causing all of your other little conditions.
The IIH is just, it's just such a weird one anyway, because they still don't know what causes it. So, you know, I just like to be an enigma.
Well, it was nice to learn about it, and it is rare. And as you said, hopefully there will be more education on it in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for your time. I'll let you enjoy your rest on the bed. Don't push yourself.
I would. I'm a lazy evening now.
Well, enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Bye.